I want to remind everyone that we're having a great rally here right now, but in about 25 minutes, Congressman Stewart is having his town hall inside. So at that point, let's go inside and ask him some of the questions that we have for him. Let's keep the energy going. After 6 questions by the moderator, that it's open to public questions. So if you go in there, you'll get your chance to directly ask Congressman Stewart your questions that you have about science, clean air, clean water, and a clean environment. Thanks guys for coming. Feel free to take your signs inside. Get in there quick. It's a small room. It's going to fill up quick.
Raise money to pay for his campaign and then have him be our... Oh, what did they do? Let Stewart people in there before the protesters?
Council people in from the avenues. We're at capacity.
Thank you.
May I come in? EnviroNews Utah.
For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is John Johnson.
Avenue. It goes from U Street, P Street, Alberta, Children's
We have some rules that we manage our meetings by. And they may be different than other meetings that you've gone to. They may be different from how other town hall meetings are managed. But you will see on the screen periodically rules of decorum. And we expect everyone that's present in our meeting to abide by those rules. And just a couple of things that I'd like to mention. There will be no demonstrations. During the time that Representative Stewart is speaking, during the town hall meeting, there will be no banners displayed, there will be no signs held up, there will be no chanting, there will be no cheering, there will be no boos. As I've done in other meetings, so the camera is there, it's on to me. If anybody who does not want to be part of that filming, someone who wants their privacy, please, if you're sitting in this area, you won't be moving the camera around the room.
It's a public meeting, ma'am.
It's a public meeting. It is. Oh, it is. Is there a part of the room for someone who voted you would not shoot?
Yeah, outside.
If there's someone who doesn't want to be on the camera, I think back in that corner would be a safe place.
Very simple.
So yes, I have a crystal ball and I can see the future.
The people in Utah are gracious people. And we've had a couple bad experiences, but not many. And the people here generally treat each other, and they've always treated me really well. So they gathered up what little they had left. They got on the one ship that had been repaired. They sailed down the James River. They entered the ocean at the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay, where they happened upon, which was an incredibly unlikely proceeding. The good news about this as well is that if you remember 4 or 5 years ago when we talked about immigration, is I think there's probably 80 or 75 or 80 or 85% of this that there's bipartisan support for. There isn't this fight in the House to stop immigration, and let's pay them if you have one good, solid, full-time career job. That's just one example of where I think this legislation is fatally flawed. The exchanges. 2 years ago we heard this thing called sequester. No one ever knew what that word meant, but we found out what it meant. After that we heard of fiscal cliff. No one ever knew what that word meant. We found out what that meant. And we're about to hear another word, and you're going to find out what it means, and that's rate shock. Like my parents who survived Social Security and Medicare for their entire retirement years. And there's a number of other things that would be helpful to that, and actually meaningfully helpful. So, thank you for that.
Okay, John. Just a moment. It appears that we have reached capacity in the room. Is there anyone who is willing to step out of the room for a short period of time and let somebody else? Oh, okay. No,
Go out and talk to those people out there.
Yes.
Excuse me, Glenn. We have people who've been here for a few hours and they really wanted to meet you and hear you speak, and they've been waiting outside, and I know that you guys have also been here. We'd like to just ask that maybe some of you guys could rotate out and let some of the people who have not been
We
here
had
yet
a
come
volunteer
inside.
right here,
So
someone
we
left.
need like
We have a
50
few
people
more
to help.
volunteers, and I'll watch the clock, and in 10 minutes, we will try to reach
These people have been here for hours, so it's not that
No more shouting.
I'm not shouting, I have my voice is sore, but we're just saying it's not fair to let everyone in here to monopolize these seats and the.
Thank you for helping us do that. Okay, I'm going to, while we're trying to do this orderly, thank you, Lisa. Anyone else who's willing to volunteer? And I think we could have one more row of people on the floor at the back of the room.
Yeah, for those who are, let me do this, is that better? You're a genius to figure that out, right? The question was, and I'm just going to keep going and we'll try to work around the transition in here. The question was, first, can the United States solve all of the problems in the Middle East and other nations? Libya is a mess. Their oil production is down near 10% what it was prior to the Arab Spring. It's chaos, and there's pockets of rebels that are controlling parts of
There are constituents of yours here tonight that acknowledge global climate change, trust scientific research, and believe our country should be actively involved in major efforts to reverse the causes. Please tell us what you are doing to represent those constituents.
We met with some leaders from 7 or 8 different environmental groups earlier this afternoon. I'm looking around the group, trying to see if I see any of those with us tonight. Oh, here we go. Yeah, some of you. And I said to you, and I'm going to repeat myself if I could, I don't understand, I really don't, and I sincerely feel bad that there's been this caricature created of me, primarily in the media, that I am this anti-science, and that I want to tear apart the EPA, that I want to roll back clean air regulations. I have never said any of those things. I have never, and I challenge any of you to find this, I have never called any of this junk science. I simply haven't. And it's too bad because secret science, and we'll talk about that, but I have never said it's junk science, and there's an enormous difference. We need to move on because there's something else here I think that's
Congressman Stewart, you said at the start that you were here to talk to the people and listen to the people. And there's a lot of people here that aren't getting to hear what you're saying and that have a lot of issues that they would like to express to you. But you snuck in the back door. And my question to you is, do you have the courage and the integrity to walk out through this group of people and out onto that plaza and talk to those people and answer their questions and not make a bunch of their...
I started out by saying that we're doing more town halls than everyone else combined. I have made myself available.
Will you walk out there and talk to the people? Will you do that? Will you go out there and talk to those people?
I would be happy to do that, but let me ask you this. Don't you think it's more effective if we have a conversation here where everyone else can hear?
I think it's more effective if everybody can hear.
In a larger room, not in the room closet.
And by the way,
Only a few people are getting to be addressed. Okay.
and let me say this as well. Any one of you, our office is 2 blocks from here.
Why won't you go out there and talk to the people? Why are you making excuses?
Because he's in here talking to the people.
I told you I would.
Aren't we people here? I consider myself a person. And the plural, that is people. And we are sitting here.
Excuse me, Representative Stewart is our guest. He's on the agenda for 20 more minutes. At 8:30, if he wants to go outside and address the group as you're suggesting, I think that's an excellent idea. Until then, please. please, let's not have any more demonstrations and demands. We're going to finish the part of this town hall meeting as we designed it and as we invited it and the congressman to attend and as we advertised. And let's be civil to each other as I asked in the beginning. And then if the meeting takes a different turn, that's up to the congressman.
Hey, ma'am, what's your name in the back?
Mine?
Yeah.
Christine?
Christine, have you ever tried to have a meeting with me?
No.
And why wouldn't we do that? I mean, we can have a much better dialogue. If you would come down, like I said, my office is only 4 blocks from me. If you had asked to have a meeting with me, I would be happy to meet with you. If any of the people behind you wanted to have a meeting with me, I would be happy to meet with you. We have never turned down anyone who wanted to meet with me.
I'm going to remind the group, this is a forum to ask questions, and please limit your question to 30 seconds. We have a lot of people that want to ask questions.
Holy cow, are there no supporters out there at all, people?
To begin with, I'd like to correct you on one thing. You say you haven't been attacking the EPA, except for when you were running for Congress last year, you made multiple statements that your position was that the EPA should be dissolved.
That's not true.
It's been reported in the news meeting. Let me elaborate on my follow-up question. My follow-up question is this with regard to the EPA. Every major medical organization in this country, representing every specialty, has endorsed stricter clean air standards, every single one. So if the entire medical community endorses stricter standards, do you have an entity somewhere outside of mainstream medicine that can do this reevaluation of medical studies that you've asked for?
Let me challenge you on something. Would you be willing to bet your house against my house that you cannot find anywhere where I said or advocated or suggested that we dissolve the EPA? Would you be willing to do that? There were I said
reports where reporters quoted you that way.
Okay, I'll bet you can't even find that. But you would have to find something direct from, and if I was advocating that, wouldn't it be on my webpage? Okay, so that's the question. What you've just said there, I'm telling you, is untrue. I never said that. Okay, now to your question, I think you came in late, didn't you?
Get in earlier.
Okay, I think we've answered your question. I'm not going to go back through it for the whole group because we spent a long time answering it. Our position was this. We just simply want to see the science. We're not suggesting that any of these studies that are currently out there, we're not saying that we should, I'm not suggesting that we roll back any current regulations. I'm not suggesting that we not move forward on things that we think would help the air quality here.
How are you going to work with us to better air quality in Utah? You're not alone.
Listen, we'll talk about things that we can. Look, you and I met earlier, didn't we? And what did I say to you then when I left that meeting?
Said that you would work with us to improve air quality in
Okay,
Utah.
so come sit down and talk with us. Let's see if we can find some places we can work together.
I think the group would like to know.
Well, have you got some suggestions on how that we'd like to discuss? I mean, these are complicated issues.
Regulations. Well, can I get back to the original question of if the entire mainstream medical community, and not just this country, but of the world, have called for stricter standards, then who do you want to do the reevaluation of this data? Because the medical community has not only evaluated this data multiple times, but the data for thousands of other studies that also form the basis of the EPA.
See, and doctor, that's where you're wrong again. Like you said that I called for just like you said, I called for absolving EPA is simply not true. What you're saying about these studies is simply not true. We're not saying the studies are wrong or the studies are right. All we're saying is we haven't seen the studies. They need to be made available to the public.
That gets to the heart of the question.
The who is
the we
anyone outside of the EPA. They are the only people who have seen these studies.
That's not true.
The
It's been
entire
published.
medical community has
We're not
digested
talking
these for
about,
30
we're not
years.
talking about those studies, doctor. We're talking about the studies that the EPA has not released that they are using to mandate a new ozone standard, which, by the way, as I
Which are
said
not the
earlier,
studies that you've asked for, by the way.
which I said earlier will have an enormous impact on the western United States. That doesn't seem like an unreasonable thing to do. Show us the studies. Why would you suggest everyone, you, the Congress, anyone who's interested?
Experts have to do the
The Six
reevaluation.
Cities
Where will
study is
those-
published.
Where will those experts?
I don't know what to say to you folks, those aren't the studies I'm talking about. I'm talking about the studies the EPA is holding that has not revealed to the public.
Which specific studies then? There was a lot of studies.
Thank you, Congressman. It really was not a perfect meeting, but your behavior was almost acceptable. Thank you. Now, most of us, just as
Congressman needs to escape out the back door.
Climate change is real! Climate change is real! People are dying, Chris Stewart! People are dying! Climate change is real!
I took a picture of you guys. Thank you for
So
coming
did he
out.
leave?
Yeah, I did.
So he's not coming out afterwards to talk with you guys. How do you feel about that?
He's not coming out to talk with us. No, I feel a little disappointed. This was advertised as a town hall meeting. My impression of what a town hall is, I could be wrong. A town hall is where an elected official comes and answers questions of their constituents. What I think he did was he handpicked which constituents he wanted to ask questions from. He kind of dodged every real question that anyone asked. His last question, he took 10 minutes to answer the last question because he knew that time was running out, and we got no real answers that we expected from a town hall.
No, he pretty much skirted the issues, and that's kind of what I expected. He had some retorts to our claim that he has called for the dissolving of the EPA. I wasn't in any meeting where he did that, but news reports of exactly what he said have been chronicled in the media with him having said exactly those words. Certainly that sentiment is consistent with what attack he is engineering on the EPA right now by demanding or subpoenaing all the raw data from these medical studies. But that makes no sense because you have to have a fair amount of medical expertise to make this evaluation. That evaluation has been done by the medical community. So when I ask him, who outside the medical community has the medical expertise to make that evaluation, he has no answer. Of course, there isn't any answer. I guess he might say that he or some of his staff have the expertise to make that reevaluation, but he won't say that because that makes him look absurd. So that's a question he leaves unanswered.
Are you satisfied with the turnout? It seemed like there was quite a big turnout for...
We had a great turnout for the rally, and then there was not enough room inside the venue for all the people who had come to the rally. So I'm sure they were disappointed in that. And Representative Stewart should consider having a town hall where there's a bigger venue.